Welcome to the Decision Points Theater. I'm Josh Bolton. I served President Bush as Chief of Staff from 2006 to 2009.
And I'm Andy Card, and I served President Bush as his Chief of Staff from 2001 to 2006. George W. Bush made many tough decisions as president. Now you'll get a flavor for what that's like.
Take a look at the list of scenarios in front of you. First, you will select which one you want to tackle. You'll get a briefing, hear expert policy advice, and vote on what to do.
The experts will not agree among themselves, but your job is to make a decision. You'll have to work fast. This experience is time, and you may be interrupted by late-breaking news.
Let's get started. Use the touch screen to choose one of the decision points. The majority of the theater chose the financial crisis.
Crippling mortgage crisis, home ownership, Lehman Brothers has filed for the biggest bankruptcy in history. Extremely nervous markets.
Housing markets have collapsed, which has signaled to the world that a large variety of assets are overpriced. As a result, large financial institutions are teetering on the brink of collapse. The financial crisis has led to a panic as banks and other financial institutions have stopped lending money to each other. There is a real risk that the entire financial system could collapse. President Bush had to make a choice. 1. Allow financial institutions to fail and let markets stabilize on their own. 2. Use federal tax dollars to stabilize financial institutions. You are about to select expert advice from a variety of people. Just as President Bush did, you will have to weigh conflicting points of view. On your touch screen, each of you can record your reaction using the slider bar. At your station, you will see how your reactions may impact your ultimate decision. And here on the main screen, you'll see a combined view of all the players in the theater. Okay, we're ready to start. Work fast, the clock is ticking.
Our nation is facing a crisis, but spending hundreds of billions of dollars to rescue Wall Street is a mistake. We can't afford it. In the end, it will benefit financial executives at the expense of taxpayers.
Using federal funds to stabilize banks and other financial institutions will stabilize the economy, and that will unfreeze credit markets, which will enable businesses to make payroll and carry out day-to-day operations.
We should let the market work. The fallout could be severe, but it's not the government's role to bail out those who acted irresponsibly. If we bail out bad actors, we give them an incentive to game the system.
The Federal Reserve steps in again to help Wall Street. Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs essentially becoming traditional banks. They'll all be subject to a lot more regulation.
At taxpayer expense.
Large financial institutions have already failed. There is a panic in financial markets that threatens to collapse our whole system. We need to restore stability now by investing a large amount of federal dollars. This will end the panic and give the markets a chance to recover.
We're facing a crisis of historic proportions. Dramatic action is necessary, or we could fall into a second Great Depression. Once the crisis is over, the Treasury will release federal funds invested in financial institutions and allow the markets to return to normal.
It is not the proper role for the federal government to inject capital into private business, even in a crisis. Plus, the Treasury is asking for a blank check on short notice. Hundreds of billions of dollars could be wasted.
There is no guarantee that investing in the financial system will stem panic and attack.
The largest single-day point drop ever in U.S. history.
The credit markets have seized up. There's virtually no American who is not feeling this one way or another.
We shouldn't shield failed institutions from the consequences of their mistakes.
Hundreds of billions of dollars is a small amount of money to risk when compared to the cost of allowing our financial system to collapse. If we save the system, these institutions will be able to pay taxpayers back.
The federal government shouldn't spend my money to bail out the people on Wall Street. They caused this crisis. Instead, the government should be
This financial crisis is not just restricted to U.S. shores. The global economy is slowing. Nobody wants to lend, so it's coming back to bite everybody.
Helping struggling homeowners.
Helping Wall Street helps Main Street. We all need a working financial system. If the crisis continues, businesses will fail, and we may face a huge recession or worse, a Great Depression.
The government needs to backstop the entire system. If only troubled banks get federal money, it could cause a run on those banks and make the crisis worse. Healthy banks can quickly repay the federal funds without additional government controls.
Some financial institutions have more than enough capital to survive the crisis. It may help stop the panic, but it's unfair to make them take federal money. They'll face new government restrictions, even though they've acted responsibly.
We all need a working financial system. If the crisis continues, businesses will fail, and we may face a huge recession.
Time's up. It's time to make a decision. You were asked how to address the financial crisis. You had two options. The people in the theater today decided to use federal tax dollars to stabilize financial institutions. Here's what President Bush did.
In the financial crisis of 2008, I chose to use federal tax dollars to stabilize financial institutions. I was angry that our largest financial institutions would put us at risk of falling into a Great Depression. But that did not change the fact that if our financial system collapsed, a lot of Americans were going to get hurt. We needed to end the panic in financial markets. So I decided the federal government would inject taxpayer dollars into the banking system. This helped restore order and confidence, freed up more money for banks to lend, and gave the financial markets a chance to recover. Ultimately, most of the taxpayer dollars invested during the crisis were repaid to the Treasury.